Ropers are carnivorous creatures that inhabit the subterranean world of caves and caverns in the Underdark. These voracious beings have an insatiable appetite and feed on a wide range of prey, including creatures native to the Underdark and unfortunate adventurers who cross their path. Their appearance is cunningly deceptive. Resembling natural stalagmites or stalactites, ropers often catch their victims by surprise. They possess the ability to move slowly using thousands of sticky cilia located beneath their base. This mobility allows them to creep up cave walls and traverse stone ceilings, ensuring they can position themselves strategically for an ambush. The roper is an evolved form of the piercer, sharing both its rock-like appearance and hunting tactics. Ropers are patient hunters, capable of remaining motionless for extended periods. When they sense potential prey drawing near, they close their single eye, making them appear as ordinary rock formations. Unsuspecting creatures that venture too close are swiftly ensnared when the roper's eye snaps open and its sticky tendrils shoot out to seize them. The roper then emits eerie guttural sounds as it pulls its struggling victims in close, delivering a fatal bite with its stony teeth. Ropers have the remarkable ability to digest nearly anything they consume, with the exceptions being platinum, gemstones, and magic items. Occasionally, after a roper's demise, adventurers may retrieve these valuable items from its gizzard. Additionally, the creature's digestive juices are sought after by alchemists for their solvent properties, fetching a high price in markets. The roper's primary means of incapacitating their prey lies in their 6 nubs, which extrude sticky tendrils that adhere to whatever they touch. These tendrils release hair-like growths that penetrate a creature's flesh, sapping its strength and rendering it helpless as the roper draws it in. If a tendril is severed or broken, the roper has the capacity to regenerate a new one to continue its predatory activities. The Rust Monster is a creature that strikes fear into the hearts of many dwarves, even more so than facing a squad of orcs. These peculiar beings have the unique ability to corrode ferrous metals, and they consume the rust they create in the process, often rendering the armor, shields, and weapons of adventurers utterly useless. A rust monster's appearance is distinctive. Its body is encased in thick, lumpy armor, and it possesses a long tail ending in a bony protrusion. On its insectile head, 2 feathery antennae sprout, aiding in its sensory perception. These underground scavengers are most commonly found in subterranean passages where they hunt for ferrous metals like iron, steel, adamantine, and mithril to feed upon. Rust monsters pay no attention to creatures lacking such metals, but they can become hostile toward those carrying steel weapons and armor. Remarkably, these creatures can detect the scent of metal from a distance, instantly rushing toward the source to corrode and consume the object, no matter if it's a humble spike or a finely crafted sword. Adventurers have been known to distract rust monsters by discarding ferrous items behind them, leading the creatures away. Rust monsters are typically solitary hunters or travel in small groups. They wander through tunnels, moving from one cave to another, tirelessly searching for ferrous materials to devour. Their wanderings often bring them into contact with other denizens of the Underdark, who either find them harmless or unappetizing. Consequently, rust monsters are often found in proximity to other subterranean monsters. When treated well and provided with enough sustenance, these creatures can even become friendly companions or pets to those who share their underground domain. Sahuagin are a fearsome aquatic race known to strike terror along fog-covered coasts and endless ocean expanses. When their ominous hunting horn, the call to raid and battle, echoes through the air, it sends chills down the spines of those who hear it. These creatures are often referred to as sea devils by coastal settlers due to their merciless nature. Sahuagin show no compassion, ruthlessly slaughtering ship crews and ravaging coastal villages. They are predatory, piscine beings that venture from the ocean's deepest depths to hunt in the shallows and along the shores. Despite residing in the ocean's most profound trenches, Sahuagin consider the entire aquatic realm their kingdom, and all creatures within it become fair game for their hunting parties. The Sahuagin ocean domains are ruled by massive mutant males who grow secondary sets of arms, making them formidable foes in battle, commanding the respect and allegiance of all other Sahuagin. Sahuagin hold Sekolah, the shark god, in reverence. Only female Sahuagin are deemed worthy of channeling the god's power, and priestesses wield significant influence in Sahuagin communities. The scent of fresh blood drives Sahuagin into a frenzy, and they share a unique kinship with sharks, training them as attack animals. Even untrained sharks recognize Sahuagin as allies and refrain from preying on them. A long-standing enmity exists between Sahuagin and aquatic elves, resulting in centuries of wars along coasts and seas. These conflicts disrupt maritime trade and draw other races into the bloodshed. Sahuagin have adapted to combat their ancient foes, with some Sahuagin born near aquatic elf communities taking on the guise of Yuan-Ti, physically resembling aquatic elves in every way. Sahuagin use Yuan-Ti as spies and assassins in aquatic elf cities and among societies of other creatures that pose a threat to Sahuagin. The mere presence of Yuan-Ti incites paranoia and suspicion among aquatic elves, weakening their resilience as a precursor to actual Sahuagin invasions. The origin of this rare phenomenon remains shrouded in mystery. Whether it's a consequence of the wars between Sahuagin and aquatic elves, or predates the conflict, is unknown. Salamanders are creatures native to the elemental plane of fire, where they traverse the Sea of Ash. Their appearance is characterized by sinuous coils and jagged spines that smolder with intense heat. Their hawkish faces feature deep-set hollows with glowing yellow eyes, akin to candles. These creatures have an affinity for power and derive pleasure from setting things ablaze. Outside their fiery home plane, they frolic amidst the burning remains of charred trees during forest fires, or slither down the slopes of erupting volcanoes to bask in fire pits and magma flows. Salamanders undergo a unique life cycle. They hatch from eggs, which are 2-foot diameter spheres of smoldering obsidian. When it's time to hatch, they melt their way through the thick shell and emerge as fire snakes. Within a year, a fire snake matures into a full-grown salamander. In the distant past, Efreet sought to enslave the mystical race known as Azers, but failed. They then turned their ambitions toward the salamanders and succeeded in establishing a slave race. These enslaved salamanders serve the Efreet, unleashing war and destruction across various planes. Salamanders hold a deep enmity for Azers, believing that if the Efreet had enslaved them instead, they would still be free. Efreet exploit this animosity, inciting hatred and strife among the salamanders. Efreet tolerate no other masters for salamanders. When Efreet encounter salamanders devoted to the cults of elemental evil, they prefer to slay them rather than taking them as slaves. The culture of free salamanders has been influenced by their servitude under the Efreet. They have adopted a societal structure akin to the Efreet model, where larger and stronger salamanders exert dominion over their lesser kin. As salamanders age, they grow in size and status, ascending to positions of authority as cruel nobles among their kind. These nobles lead bands of salamanders that roam the elemental plane of fire like nomads, raiding other communities for treasure. Salamanders emit intense heat, and their weapons glow red hot, causing severe burns upon contact. Merely approaching a salamander can result in blistered and burnt flesh due to their intense heat. This natural heat serves them well as skilled smiths, allowing them to shape iron and steel with their bare hands. While not as meticulous as Azers, salamanders are renowned as exceptional metalsmiths in the multiverse. They are summoned as warriors by powerful beings, and others enlist their crafting skills or bind them to forges and ovens to generate limitless heat. Satyrs, rowdy and merry fey creatures, find their joy in the heart of wild forests, guided by an insatiable curiosity and an unquenchable thirst for pleasure. Their appearance is that of stout male humans with furry lower bodies and cloven hooves resembling goats. Sprouting from their heads are horns of varying shapes, ranging from small nubs to large, curling ram's horns. They often sport facial hair. Hedonism is at the core of a satyr's nature. They relentlessly seek the most potent drink, the most aromatic spices, and the most exhilarating dances. For satyrs, the absence of indulgence feels like starvation, driving them to great lengths to satisfy their desires. They might resort to kidnapping a talented minstrel to hear beautiful songs, sneak into well-defended gardens to catch a glimpse of a handsome youth or a lovely maiden, or infiltrate a palace to sample the finest cuisine available. Satyrs refuse to let any festive occasion pass them by, participating in every holiday they come across. The world's civilizations offer an abundance of festivals and holy days, providing ample opportunities for continuous celebration. In their inebriated states, fueled by drink and pleasure, satyrs give little thought to the consequences of the hedonism they inspire in others. Those who join in their revelries often find themselves bewildered by their own behavior, with no recollection of the wild night's events. Such revelers may need to scramble for excuses to explain their disheveled state to parents, employers, family, or friends. During harvest time, when the world shifts into twilight and summer's once vibrant blossoms wilt, eerie scarecrows stand guard over desolate fields. These silent sentinels, with their sackcloth faces, patiently watch over the barren lands, enduring the harshest weather conditions. Their purpose is twofold: to terrify any unwary prey with their unsettling appearance, and to strike down victims with their razor-sharp claws. The secret to a scarecrow's animation lies in the bound spirit of a slain evil creature. This ethereal essence infuses the scarecrow, granting it both purpose and mobility. The eerie presence of this spirit from beyond death is what allows the scarecrow to instill fear in those who gaze upon it. Hags and witches are known to bind scarecrows with the spirits of demons, but any malevolent spirit will suffice. While certain aspects of the spirit's personality may manifest, the scarecrow's spirit does not recall its past memories as a living being. Its sole focus is on fulfilling the commands of its creator. In the event of its creator's demise, the spirit within a scarecrow may continue to follow its last instructions, seek revenge for its creator's death, or ultimately self-destruct. Being a construct, a scarecrow has no need for air, food, drink, or sleep. It stands as a relentless guardian, an eerie sentinel watching over the fields long after the harvest has passed, a reminder of the darkness that can take root even in the most tranquil of landscapes. Shadows are a type of undead creature that closely resembles dark and distorted versions of humanoid shadows. These entities have a sinister disposition, drawing sustenance from the life force of living beings. While they can target any living creature, shadows are particularly attracted to those untouched by evil. A creature that lives a virtuous and righteous life subdues its darkest desires and strongest temptations, which are absorbed into the shadows that hunger within them. As a shadow drains a victim's strength and physical form, the victim's shadow gradually darkens and begins to move independently. Upon the victim's death, their shadow breaks free, becoming a newly born undead shadow, driven by an insatiable hunger for more life to consume. Should a creature from which a shadow has been created somehow return to life, the undead shadow is acutely aware of this resurrection. It may actively seek its parent to torment or even kill them. Once the shadow begins pursuing its living counterpart, the original creature no longer casts a shadow until the undead monster is vanquished. As undead creatures, shadows do not require air, food, drink, or sleep. They exist solely to drain the vitality of the living, casting darkness and dread wherever they roam. A creature known as the Shambling Mound, or simply the Shambler, roams through desolate swamps, gloomy marshes, and rainforests, voraciously consuming any organic matter it encounters. This grotesque amalgamation of animated vegetation stands taller than an average human, its form tapering into a featureless head at its apex. Shambling Mounds are relentless devourers, consuming both plant life as they move and hapless animals that fall within their grasp. The rarity of these creatures and their sluggish pace prevent them from overwhelming entire ecosystems, but their presence is still felt as they drain the natural environment of its vitality. Where Shambling Mounds roam, an eerie silence settles over the once thriving swamps and woods, a testament to their ever-hungry nature. These monsters are adept at remaining hidden in their surroundings, composed of decaying leaves, vines, roots, and other natural detritus from swamps and forests. They move slowly, making little effort to pursue their prey. Instead, they lie in wait, absorbing nutrients from their surroundings, and only spring to life when an unsuspecting creature draws near. The genesis of a Shambling Mound is a peculiar one, born from a phenomenon in which lightning or fey magic breathes new life into a mundane swamp plant. This reborn plant thrives by consuming the life of nearby plants and animals, amassing their remains around its roots. As time passes, the roots lose their dependence on soil, directing the Shambling Mound to seek out fresh sources of sustenance. The core of a Shambling Mound's instinct lies within its central root stem, buried deep within its colossal form. The remainder of its structure consists of the rotting heap that both protects the root stem and sustains it by assimilating the life force of other creatures. Notably, the dense body of a Shambling Mound is resilient to the effects of cold and fire, while lightning serves to invigorate its root stem, enhancing the creature's strength and insatiable hunger. Despite its monstrous exterior, the Shambling Mound is, at its core, a living plant requiring air and nourishment. It lacks traditional sleep patterns, but can remain dormant for extended periods before awakening to search for sustenance. When faced with defeat by a superior adversary, a Shambling Mound employs a clever ruse. Its root stem can feign death, causing the mound to collapse. If not subsequently eradicated, the root stem takes refuge within the remains of its fallen mound, slowly regenerating its entire body. Thus, Shambling Mound infestations believed to be eradicated can resurge time and time again, an enduring menace to the natural world. Shield Guardians, designed by wizards and spellcasters, serve as steadfast protectors. These constructs are forged to walk alongside their masters, shielding them from harm and absorbing damage to ensure their safety. Each Shield Guardian is linked to a magical amulet. This amulet is unique and singularly connected to the Guardian. If the amulet is destroyed, the Shield Guardian becomes incapacitated until a new amulet is created. The amulet is vulnerable to direct attacks if it is not being worn or carried, possessing an armor class of 10/10 hit points and immunity to poison and psychic damage. Crafting a replacement amulet necessitates 1 week and costs 1,000 gold pieces in components. The sole purpose of a Shield Guardian is to safeguard the wearer of its amulet. The individual possessing the amulet can issue commands to the Guardian, instructing it to either attack foes or defend against incoming assaults. In the face of a threat to the wearer, the construct can magically intercept the attack, even from a distance, absorbing the blow to protect its master. In addition to its protective role, a Shield Guardian can also store a single spell, which it can cast upon command or under specific conditions. This feature surprises enemies who believe they have rendered a spellcaster powerless, only to face the potent magical abilities of the Shield Guardian. The allure of Shield Guardians extends beyond their protective capabilities. Their ownership can be transferred by bestowing the matching amulet upon another creature. As a result, some wizards amass substantial fortunes by creating Shield Guardians for wealthy patrons, including princes, nobles, and crime lords. Conversely, for those bold enough to slay a Shield Guardian's master and seize its amulet, the construct becomes a magnificent and formidable prize. Skeletons are creatures animated by dark magic. They are typically summoned by spellcasters or rise on their own in places saturated with death and evil energy. The sinister force that awakens a skeleton infuses its bones with dark vitality, allowing it to move and think, albeit in a rudimentary manner. However, it loses all connection to its past life. Resurrecting a skeleton restores its body and soul, banishing the hateful undead spirit that empowers it. While many skeletons are the reanimated remains of humans and humanoids, they can be created from the bones of various creatures, resulting in diverse and terrifying forms. Skeletons, when raised by a spell, are obedient servants bound to their creator's will. They follow orders precisely without question. Despite their unwavering obedience, skeletons struggle to adapt to changing circumstances. They lack the ability to read, speak, or emote, but can nod, shake their heads, or point to communicate. Still, they can perform a range of complex tasks, such as combat, using weapons and armor, operating machinery like catapults, or scaling siege ladders. Clear instructions are necessary for these tasks. Despite their lack of intellect, skeletons aren't mindless. They will attempt logical solutions before resorting to brute force. For example, they'll try a door's handle before attempting to break it down. Independent skeletons, free from a master's control, may mimic actions from their past lives. For instance, a skeleton of a miner might chip away at walls, while a guard skeleton may stand watch at random doorways. Such behaviors are mere echoes of their former living selves. When encountering living creatures, skeletons are compelled by their necromantic energy to kill unless specifically commanded otherwise by their masters. They show no mercy and will fight until destroyed, as they possess little self-awareness and self-preservation instincts. In the tumultuous chaos of limbo, where elements collide and realities shift, dwells a peculiar species known as the Slaadi. These toad-like creatures lack structure and hierarchy, existing in a state of undisciplined anarchy. Weaker Slaadi submit to the will of their more powerful counterparts under the constant threat of obliteration. Long ago, the overlord of the Modrons, Primus, crafted a colossal, intricately patterned stone infused with the essence of law, known as the Spawning Stone. It was his attempt to impose order upon the chaotic maelstrom of Limbo, a bid to prevent its chaotic energies from spilling into other realms. However, this well-intentioned act birthed the Slaadi as the stone absorbed the chaos, giving rise to these enigmatic beings. The Spawning Stone is now a symbol of unintended consequences. The Slaadi, driven by their innate chaos, annihilated every Modron enclave in Limbo. They harbor a profound loathing for Modrons and attack them on sight, yet Primus remains indifferent to this threat or chooses to overlook it. Slaadi reproduction is a gruesome affair, involving the implantation of humanoid hosts with eggs or the infection of hosts with a transformative malady called Chaos Phage. Different colors of Slaadi follow distinct reproductive paths, with red Slaadi giving rise to blue and green Slaadi. Over their lifetimes, green Slaadi metamorphose into the more potent gray and death Slaadi, retaining their memories throughout. Some Slaadi possess the unique ability to shapeshift into the humanoid forms from which they originated. These imposters return to the material plane, sowing discord while wearing the guise of their former selves. The red Slaad carries a unique method of reproduction. When it claws a humanoid, it injects an egg into the victim. This egg eventually hatches into a Slaad tadpole, which gruesomely emerges from its host, feasting on the remains and growing into a blue Slaad. If the host had the ability to cast 3 RD level spells or higher, the tadpole becomes a green Slaad instead. The blue Slaad wields bone hooks that infect wounded humanoids with a transformative disease known as Chaos Phage. This affliction turns victims into red Slaadi, or green Slaadi if the host was a spellcaster capable of casting 3 RD level spells or higher. Green Slaadi are surprisingly intelligent and possess innate spellcasting abilities. They can change their shape to mimic humanoids, often adopting the form of their host. At an unpredictable point in their existence, they unlock the power to instantly and permanently transform into gray Slaadi, a process that may take years, even decades. Gray Slaadi act as extensions of their masters, the Death Slaadi, beyond Limbo's boundaries. Often taking humanoid form, they wield greatswords imbued with innate magic. A remarkable transformation awaits a gray Slaad that consumes the entire corpse of a deceased Death Slaad. It instantly becomes a Death Slaad. These beings are deeply corrupted by the negative energy plane, taking sadistic pleasure in causing harm and propagating their race by coercing red and blue Slaadi into invasions of other planes. Those who survive their incursions become unwitting incubators for new Slaadi, perpetuating this cycle of chaos and malevolence. A Specter is the vengeful, unbound spirit of a once-living humanoid, trapped in the mortal realm due to unresolved matters or dark magic. These entities have severed all ties to their past existence and are doomed to wander the world endlessly. Some Specters are created when a soul is forcibly ripped from a living body by sinister forces such as Wraiths. Unlike ghosts, whose restless souls find peace once their unfinished business is resolved, Specters have no such redemption. Their fate is to remain on the material plane, with their only release being the obliteration of their essence. Until that moment, they lead solitary lives in desolate places, forgotten by the passage of time. Specters harbor an undying hatred for the living. The mere presence of living beings reminds them of the life they can never reclaim. This overwhelming sorrow and anger can only be temporarily eased by extinguishing the lives of the living. They kill swiftly and mercilessly, finding the slightest satisfaction in depriving others of life. However, no matter how many lives they snuff out, Specters are unable to escape their unrelenting hatred and sorrow. These creatures dwell in darkness, and sunlight is a source of agony for them. At night, they emerge from their resting places, seeking out living beings to slay. They know that few weapons can harm them in return. As dawn approaches, they retreat back into the shadows, patiently awaiting the cover of night to resume their relentless hunt. Specters possess an undead nature, requiring no sustenance like air, food, drink, or sleep. Now, a variant of the Specter known as a poltergeist exists. Unlike regular Specters, poltergeists are confused and invisible spirits of individuals who have no memory of how they died. They express their rage by hurling creatures and objects through the power of their shattered psyche. Sphinxes are formidable creatures known for guarding the secrets and treasures of the gods. With a calm demeanor, they assess each new group that approaches them, their lairs often strewn with the remains of those who failed their tests. Sphinxes possess powerful leonine bodies adorned with great wings capable of carrying them gracefully through the air. These divine guardians evaluate those who seek the treasures hidden in the realms of gods, whether it be long-forgotten knowledge or mighty spells. Those who willingly face a Sphinx's test are bound to it until the end, and only the worthy survive. The rest meet their demise at the hands of the Sphinx. Some Sphinxes are created as high priests of the deities they serve, while others are embodied spirits brought into the mortal realm through prayer or divine intervention. These tireless beings maintain their eternal watch, requiring neither sleep nor sustenance. They rarely interact with their kind, their existence solely dedicated to their sacred mission. The secrets and treasures guarded by Sphinxes remain under divine protection. Should a creature fail the Sphinx's test, the path to the coveted knowledge or object disappears. Even if a Sphinx is defeated in combat, a quester will still fail to gain the secret they sought and may incur the wrath of the god who placed the Sphinx as a guardian. Benevolent deities occasionally grant Sphinxes the power to remove failed supplicants, ensuring they never encounter the Sphinx again. However, those who fail typically meet a gruesome end beneath the creature's claws. Mortals may encounter Sphinxes in ancient tombs and ruins, but some Sphinxes possess the ability to access extraplanar realms. Conversations with them can shift suddenly to alien locations, and only those deemed worthy gain admittance to these otherworldly realms. Some Sphinxes, driven by weariness, remorse, or dreams of worship, may break free from their divine commands. However, even if their alignment and loyalties change, they never abandon the place they guard or grant their secrets to unworthy seekers. Now, there are two distinct types of sphinxes. Androsphinx, these creatures bear the head of a humanoid male on their lion's body. Outwardly gruff and often starting conversations with insults, they test the courage and valor of supplicants through quests and their terrifying roars. Those who pass their tests may be rewarded with a hero's feast. Gynosphinx. Gynosphinxes possess the head of a humanoid female. Some have regal appearances, while others exhibit more leonine features. Their eyes possess extraordinary sight, piercing invisibility, and magic. Supplicants who gaze into their eyes may find themselves magically transported to distant planes for challenging trials. Gynosphinxes are repositories of knowledge and wisdom, testing the wit of supplicants with riddles and puzzles. Some are open to bargaining for treasure or services. Sphinxes preside over ancient temples, sepulchres, or vaults, concealing divine secrets and treasures that mortals cannot easily access. In secluded groves and shaded glens, you'll find the tiny creatures known as Sprites. These fey beings sport dragonfly wings that allow them to flutter gracefully. However, despite their fey beauty, Sprites lack warmth and compassion. They are known for their aggressiveness and hardy warrior nature. When strangers approach their homes, Sprites judge their moral character, often taking severe measures to ward them away. Sprites are guardians of the forest, creating small villages in the treetops and verdant glades adorned with moss, wildflowers, and toadstools. They thrive in harmony with the wild, and they tolerate no trespassers. If intruders venture too close, Sprites employ ominous rustling and snapping twigs to lead them astray. Creatures who persist are stung with poisoned arrows and lulled into a deep slumber. While they sleep, Sprites make their escape, retreating to an even more secluded part of the forest. These fey creatures possess the unique ability to sense the goodness or evilness of a creature by the sound and feeling of its beating heart. Weighing the balance of a creature's past actions, Sprites can determine whether its heart beats rapidly in love or flutters in sorrow, or if it's darkened by hate or greed. The power to perceive the heart is infallible because the heart cannot lie. Within their forest domains, Sprites are skilled poison brewers. They craft toxins, unguents, antidotes, and various poisons, including the sleep poison used to coat their arrows. They venture deep into the woods to gather rare flowers, mosses, and fungi, sometimes crossing into dangerous territory in their quest for ingredients. In desperate situations, Sprites may even steal these components from the gardens of hags. Despite their stern and serious demeanor, Sprites are good-hearted beings. They oppose the will of evil fae and vow to thwart evil archfae at every opportunity. If they encounter adventurers on a quest to rid their forest of an evil fey creature or goblinoid threat, Sprites offer their support and may come to their aid when least expected. Unlike pixies, Sprites are not known for indulging in frivolous merriment and fun. They are resolute warriors, protectors, and judges. Their seriousness sets them apart from other fae, earning them a reputation for being dour. However, those who respect the Sprites' territory find steadfast allies in times of trouble. The Stirge is a grotesque flying creature that combines the features of a large bat with an oversized mosquito. It possesses sharp pincers at the end of its legs and wields a long, needle-like proboscis that slashes through the air as it searches for its next meal. Stirges sustain themselves by feeding on the blood of living creatures. They attach to their prey and drain them slowly. While individual Stirges pose little threat, when they gather in packs, they become a formidable menace. They can reattach themselves as swiftly as their weakening victims attempt to remove them. To feed, a Stirge lands on its victim, seeks out a vulnerable spot, and then thrusts its proboscis into the flesh. Simultaneously, it employs its pincer legs to firmly latch onto the victim. Once the Stirge has satisfied its hunger, it detaches from its prey and takes flight, leaving to digest its meal. Succubi and incubi, alluring and wicked dark-winged fiends, can be found throughout the lower planes. They serve various malevolent entities, including devils, demons, night hags, rakshasas, and Yugoloths. These fiends, often in the service of Asmodeus and the demon lord Grazist, are skilled in tempting mortals into performing evil acts. While legends speak of succubi and incubi as separate beings, they possess the ability to assume either form, with most having a preference. Their true forms are rarely seen by mortals, as they prefer to begin their corruptive work in subtle, veiled ways. Succubi and incubi first appear in ethereal form, capable of passing through walls like ghosts. They lurk beside a mortal's bed, whispering forbidden pleasures and tempting them to indulge in their darkest desires. As they fill their victims' dreams with debauchery, the victim becomes increasingly susceptible to temptation in their waking life. Ultimately, the fiend takes on a tempting humanoid form to directly influence the victim's actions. Disguised as someone who previously appeared only in the victim's dreams, they seduce or befriend the victim, encouraging them to perform evil acts willingly. The fiends do not require a formal pledge or contract to claim a mortal soul. Instead, when they have fully corrupted a victim, often by causing them to commit thought, word, and deed betrayals, the victim's soul becomes the property of the fiend. The more virtuous the victim, the longer the corruption process takes, but the more rewarding the ultimate downfall. After successfully corrupting a victim, the succubus or incubus kills them, and the tainted soul descends into the lower planes. Magical charm is used only when necessary for self-defense. A charmed victim is not held responsible for their actions, and forcing them to act against their will does not bring the fiend closer to obtaining the victim's soul. The kiss of a succubus or incubus is a reflection of their profound emptiness and longing for a corrupted soul. The recipient experiences only pain and a sense of emptiness. As the kiss is nothing less than an attack, typically delivered as a final act before the fiend departs, succubi and incubi can reproduce with each other to create more of their kind. Less commonly, they can also reproduce with a humanoid, resulting in the birth of a Cambion child, invariably inheriting the wickedness of their fiendish parent. The legendary Tarrasque is one of the most feared creatures on the material plane. It is widely believed that only a single Tarrasque exists, and its appearances are unpredictable. This monstrous beast is a scaly biped, standing at an imposing 50 feet in height and measuring 70 feet in length. It weighs hundreds of tons and moves with the grace of a predatory bird, using its powerful tail to maintain balance. Its cavernous mouth is wide enough to swallow nearly all creatures, and its insatiable hunger can lead it to devour entire town populations. The Tarrasque's destructive potential is so immense that some cultures incorporate it into their religious beliefs, weaving its sporadic appearances into stories of divine judgment and wrath. Legends describe how the Tarrasque often lies dormant in a hidden lair beneath the earth, remaining in this state for decades or even centuries. When it awakens, triggered by some mysterious cosmic signal, it rises from the depths to annihilate everything in its path. Thri-Kreen are nomadic insectoid creatures that inhabit deserts and savannas, keeping their distance from other races. They communicate through a unique language that doesn't involve words. Instead, they clack their mandibles and use their antennae to convey their thoughts and emotions, making it challenging for other races to understand or replicate. Thri-Kreen are not as prone to emotional outbursts as humans, but they do experience a full range of emotions. Those with psionic abilities may display a wider emotional range, especially when interacting with more emotional races like humans. Thri-Kreen have a predatory nature, viewing all living creatures as potential food sources. They have a particular taste for elf flesh. However, if a creature can serve a purpose other than sustenance, they are less likely to attack it outright. Thri-Kreen only kill to meet their survival needs and never for sport. One notable trait of Thri-Kreen is their lack of a need for sleep. They can rest while remaining alert and capable of performing light tasks. This trait is believed to contribute to their relatively short lifespans, with the average Thri-Kreen living for about 30 years. Treants are sentient, awakened trees that inhabit ancient forests. While they prefer a life of tranquility, Treants fiercely defend their woodland domains against external threats. The transformation of a tree into a Treant is a gradual and special process that occurs under the influence of nature's magic. Trees with the potential to awaken are protected by Treants and powerful druids in secret groves. As a tree nears the moment of awakening, it begins to develop face-like features in its bark, divides its lower trunk into legs, and grows long branches that serve as arms. When the time is right, the tree uproots itself, becoming a Treant, and joins its fellow Treants in safeguarding the forest. Treants continue to grow even after awakening, with some reaching impressive sizes and developing innate magical abilities that allow them to control plants and animals. They can animate plants to ensnare intruders, summon wildlife to aid them, and communicate over great distances using natural means. While they spend most of their time as trees, Treants remain aware of their surroundings, capable of sensing events happening miles away through subtle changes in the forest. Treants are protectors of the wilderness, and they only become aggressive when they perceive a threat to their home. Those who harm healthy trees, recklessly use fire, poison the forest, or destroy ancient trees, especially those close to awakening, risk incurring the wrath of a Treant. Troglodytes are a savage and degenerate humanoid species that inhabits the shallow depths of the Underdark. Their existence is marked by constant warfare, both among their own kind and against neighboring creatures. They use crude markers like cracked bones, skulls, and pictographs made from blood or dung to demarcate their territories. These creatures are among the most repulsive of humanoids. Troglodytes have voracious appetites and are known to eat virtually anything they can find, often dwelling in squalor. The walls of their cavernous homes are coated with filth, oily secretions, and the remnants of their foul feasts. Troglodytes possess a simple and communal culture primarily focused on obtaining food. Their limited intelligence limits their ability to plan for the future, so they rely on constant hunting and raiding to sustain themselves. They take sadistic pleasure in hunting down weaker, intelligent creatures and show no mercy to their captives, who often become meals in their lairs. Leadership among troglodytes is determined by size and strength, with the largest and toughest individuals assuming leadership roles. However, any sign of weakness or hesitation can lead to brutal attacks from other troglodytes. Their meager possessions are scavenged from their prey, and they highly value metal weapons and armor, often fighting among themselves to possess such items. Troglodyte tribes can be torn apart by battles over even a single weapon. Some troglodyte tribes venerate a demonic entity called Laog-Zed, a monstrously fat toad lizard that resides in the abyss. This deity offers no tangible benefits to its worshippers, but the troglodytes aspire to become as fat, well-fed, and content as Laog-Zed seems to be, making it a focus of their devotion. Trolls are creatures driven by insatiable appetites, consuming anything they can catch and overpower. They lack organized societies, but are often employed as mercenaries by other monstrous races like orcs, ogres, ettins, hags, and giants. In exchange for their services, trolls demand payment in the form of food and treasure. However, trolls are notoriously difficult to control, often acting according to their own whims, even when collaborating with more powerful beings. One of the most notorious traits of trolls is their remarkable regenerative ability. When injured, a troll's wounds heal rapidly. Even if an opponent manages to sever one of its limbs or its head, these dismembered parts can sometimes continue to function independently. In some cases, a troll can reattach its severed body parts, seemingly unfazed by the temporary loss. However, this remarkable regenerative power can be neutralized by acid and fire. Trolls are particularly enraged by attacks involving acid and fire, prioritizing those attackers above all other threats. Trolls are susceptible to mutation due to their regenerative capabilities. While such transformations are relatively rare, they can occur as a result of a troll's actions or external factors. For example, a decapitated troll might grow 2 heads from the stump of its neck, and a troll that consumes a fey creature may acquire some of that creature's unique traits and abilities. The Umber Hulk is a monstrous creature that dwells deep underground, often lurking in cave complexes, dungeons, and settlements in the Underdark as it searches for food. Encounters with Umber Hulks are typically traumatic experiences, and survivors often have fragmented memories of the events due to the creature's mind-scrambling gaze. Umber Hulks are known for their ability to burrow through solid rock, creating new tunnels as they move. Their incredibly tough chitinous exoskeletons allow them to withstand cave-ins, tunnel collapses, and rockfalls, which often occur in their wake. These creatures are ambush predators, lying in wait within the walls of a cavern or passageway. They use their hair-like feelers to sense any nearby movement. When they strike, they burst forth from the earth and rock, catching their unsuspecting prey off guard. The bewildering gaze of the Umber Hulk leaves its victims entranced and helpless as the creature's mandibles close in for the kill. What makes encounters with Umber Hulks particularly unsettling is their ability to scramble the memories of those who survive. Many individuals who have faced an Umber Hulk cannot recall the details of the attack due to the creature's confusing gaze. Those who have fought and defeated these creatures can recognize the signs and often share tales of their encounters. For other denizens of the Underdark, stories of vanished explorers and wanton destruction serve as warnings about an unknown and formidable foe. Umber Hulks are often portrayed as supernatural entities in these harrowing stories, and they are universally associated with the idea that once you spot one, it's already too late to escape its deadly grasp. Unicorns are celestial creatures that inhabit enchanted forests. Although they resemble horses, unicorns possess a magical and otherworldly quality, their white forms gleaming like starlight. A distinctive feature of a unicorn is its single spiraling ivory horn, which holds potent magical properties. This horn can heal the sick and injured with its touch, making it a symbol of hope and divine power. Unicorns possess a unique ability to understand the languages of various woodland creatures, including elves and sylvan folk. They grant access to their woods to kind-hearted beings, but remain vigilant against evil, swiftly dealing with any malevolent intruders. These celestial beings are divine guardians sent by benevolent deities to ward off evil and protect sacred places. Most unicorns have a bounded realm, often an enchanted forest, under their watchful care. However, on occasion, gods may send unicorns to guard specific individuals or artifacts in need of protection. In these cases, evil creatures dare not enter the unicorn's domain. Unicorns are most commonly associated with deities of the forest and woodlands, as well as gods of benevolent fae. While all unicorns possess natural healing abilities, some serve the gods in greater capacities, performing miracles and acting as protectors of the highest order. Within a unicorn's forest, a sense of tranquility prevails. The creatures of the woodlands seem unusually tame, and even typically mischievous fae creatures, such as pixies, sprites, satyrs, and dryads, willingly serve the unicorn within its woods. Under its watchful eye, the creatures feel secure from the encroachment of civilization and the spread of evil. A unicorn is an ever-watchful guardian, roaming its domain with a delicate grace that rarely disturbs the other denizens of the forest. It can be elusive, appearing briefly before vanishing into the depths of the wilderness. The horn of a unicorn is its most sacred possession, a shard of divine magic crafted into a spiraling ivory structure. Unicorn horn wands are powerful magical instruments and weapons adorned with unicorn horn strike with divine force. Wizards also value powdered unicorn horn for its use in potent potions and scroll ink. However, anyone who plays a role, no matter how small, in the slaying of a unicorn can expect divine retribution. In times of great darkness and evil, the gods may pair a unicorn mount with a chosen champion. A paladin mounted on a unicorn signifies the direct intervention of the gods in mortal affairs, a holy alliance formed to battle demons and banish devils. The unicorn remains steadfast by the champion's side, its horn radiant against the encroaching night. However, if the champion falls from grace or strays from the path of righteousness, the unicorn departs, never to return. A unicorn's lair can take many forms within its enchanted forest, such as ancient ruins overgrown with vines, misty clearings surrounded by mighty oaks, flower-covered hilltops teeming with butterflies, or other serene woodland settings. Vampires, creatures of the night, are cursed to an eternal existence driven by their insatiable hunger for the life essence of the living. In their undeath, they become creatures of shadow and darkness, forever avoiding sunlight, which burns them to their core. As creatures of the night, they cast no reflections and leave no shadows. To blend among the living, vampires must remain concealed within the shroud of darkness and away from reflective surfaces. The passage into undeath strips vampires of their emotional attachments from their previous life. Love transforms into a voracious obsession, while friendship corrodes into bitter jealousy. Emotions are replaced by physical desires, and vampires fixate on tangible representations of their cravings. A vampire lusting for love may become fixated on a young and beautiful individual, while one yearning for youth might be drawn to a child. Some vampires surround themselves with art, literature, or macabre items such as torture devices or trophies from their victims. Vampires perpetuate their kind by turning their victims into vampire spawn, ravenous creatures sharing the vampire's thirst for blood, but subservient to the one who created them. Only by allowing a spawn to drink from their own blood can a true vampire free it from their control, a practice few vampires willingly engage in. Vampire spawn regain their free will when their creator meets their end. Each vampire is tethered to its coffin, crypt, or grave site, where it must rest during daylight hours. If a vampire wasn't granted a proper burial, it must rest beneath at least a foot of earth at the site of its transformation into undeath. A vampire can relocate its resting place by transporting its coffin or a significant amount of its grave dirt to a new location. Some vampires maintain multiple resting sites, ensuring their survival and secrecy. The water weird is an elemental guardian tethered to a specific water-filled location, often found in pools or fountains. While submerged in water, it remains invisible, revealing its serpentine form only when it emerges to attack. The water weird uses its coiling body to crush any intruders, except those granted immunity by its summoner or those declared off-limits. When defeated, a water weird reverts to an inanimate pool of water. Water weirds are devoid of moral concepts like good or evil, typical of elemental beings. However, a water weird's alignment may shift if it is bound to a water source with particular qualities. A water weird connected to a sacred water source can develop a neutral good alignment, preferring to intimidate intruders rather than causing harm. Conversely, a water weird linked to a tainted water source may become neutral evil, taking pleasure in killing and potentially turning against its summoner. It can shed this evil alignment if its waters are purified using a spell like Purify Food and Drink. Wights are malevolent, undead creatures originating from mortal beings, driven by dark desires and vanity in their former lives. When these individuals meet their demise, their spirits beckon to maleficent entities such as the demon Lord Orcus or other underworld deities, pleading for a chance at undeath in exchange for eternal servitude. Answering this call, these spirits are transformed into wights, retaining their memories and desires. As undead, wights are unwaveringly committed to the dark forces that granted them undeath. They pledge their loyalty to their new masters while retaining their individual willpower, allowing them to pursue their sinister objectives with relentless determination. Wights exist in a state between life and death, characterized by their insatiable hunger for the life essence present in all living beings. When they attack, the wight's cold touch can drain this life essence from their victims, a process observed as white-hot embers glowing in their dark eyes. During the daylight hours, wights avoid the sun, which they despise, and seek refuge in crypts, tombs, and barrow mounds. Their lairs are eerie, lifeless places surrounded by withered vegetation, shunned by animals, and imbued with a sense of desolation. Wights possess the ability to raise humanoids they've slain as obedient zombies under their control. Driven by a hunger for living souls and the desire for power that awaken them to undeath, some wights serve as formidable soldiers, often collaborating with other malevolent entities like wraiths. Though they have the capacity for strategic planning, wights typically rely on their destructive instincts to overcome any adversaries in their path. Will-o-wisps, sinister and wispy orbs of light, are often found in desolate locales and battlefields, drawn by dark fate or malevolent magic to feast on fear and despair. Emissaries of hope and doom. Appearing as flickering lantern lights in the distance, will-o-wisps can alter their colors or extinguish their glow at will. When they activate their lights, these enigmatic entities offer a glimmer of hope, luring unsuspecting creatures towards them. However, this is merely a ruse. Will-o-wisps lead their victims into treacherous traps such as quicksand pits and monster lairs, relishing in their suffering and savoring their cries of despair. Those evil souls who fall prey to these creatures might transform into will-o-wisps themselves, their mournful spirits flickering above their lifeless bodies, nourished by despair. Will-o-wisps are the tormented souls of malevolent beings who met their end in anguish and misery while wandering forsaken lands saturated with potent magic. These malefic entities thrive in desolate environments like swampy bogs and bone-laden battlefields where sorrow hangs heavier than the pervasive mist and fog. Trapped in these desolate realms devoid of hope and memory, will-o-wisps entice other creatures towards grim destinies and feed upon their misery. Instruments of darkness, will-o-wisps are seldom known to communicate, but when they do, their voices resemble faint, distant whispers. In the dismal domains they haunt, these creatures sometimes establish symbiotic relationships with their malevolent neighbors. Hags, oni, black dragons, and evil cultists collaborate with will-o-wisps to ensnare unsuspecting creatures in ambushes. As their wicked allies encircle and eliminate their prey, the wisps hover overhead, savoring the torment of a final breath and reveling in the sensation as the light of life extinguishes from a creature's eyes. The Wraith is a creature of pure malice, a malevolent entity taking on an incorporeal form with a relentless thirst for extinguishing all life. Negative energy courses through its essence, and its mere presence causes nearby plant life to wither and animals to flee. Even small fires can be snuffed out by the ominous aura of the Wraith. When a mortal humanoid leads a depraved life or forms a sinister pact, it dooms its soul to eternal damnation in the lower planes. In rare cases, a soul becomes so saturated with negative energy that it collapses upon itself, ceasing to exist just before transitioning to an afterlife. In this macabre twist of fate, the spirit transforms into a soulless wraith, a malefic void trapped on the plane of its demise. Almost all remnants of the wraith's past life vanish, replaced by an insatiable urge to annihilate other life forms. Wraiths possess the unique ability to traverse solid objects and creatures effortlessly, akin to a mortal passing through mist. Although they may retain fragments of their former lives as hazy memories, these are mere fleeting impressions, like distant, half-remembered dreams. Moments of fascination or tempered wrath may occasionally arise, but most wraiths loathe their prior existence as a painful reminder of their current cursed state. Wraiths possess the power to create an undead servant from the spirit of a recently deceased humanoid who suffered a violent end. This unfortunate fragment of despair becomes a specter, harboring spite for all living beings. Some wraiths rise to command legions of the undead, plotting the destruction of the living. When they lead their armies into battle, life and hope wither in their presence. Even if forced to retreat, the lands they occupy are left desolate and barren, often leading to the starvation and death of those who inhabit them. The wyvern, a distant relative of the formidable dragons, is a fearsome creature often encountered in the wild. These winged predators are known for their dark, menacing silhouettes as they soar through the skies, instilling alarm in those living on the fringes of civilization. A wyvern possesses several distinctive features that set it apart. It has scaly legs, leathery wings, and a sinewy tail that culminates in its most deadly weapon, a venomous stinger. The poison within a wyvern's stinger is extraordinarily potent, capable of swiftly ending the life of its victim. This venom courses through the victim's bloodstream, causing the disintegration of veins and arteries until it reaches the heart. While wyverns are formidable adversaries, their poison is highly sought after by hunters and adventurers, used in alchemical concoctions and to enhance the lethality of weapons. These creatures are adept aerial hunters, preferring to engage their prey in the air. Only when absolutely necessary or when deceived into a disadvantageous position will a wyvern engage in ground combat. In such cases, it assumes a low, crouched posture, keeping its stinger poised menacingly while emitting hisses and growls. Wyverns are known for their aggressiveness and recklessness when pursuing prey. They will relent only if they sustain severe injuries, or if their quarry manages to elude them long enough for a more accessible meal to appear. If they corner a fleeing creature in a confined space, they guard the hiding spot, striking with their stinger whenever the opportunity arises. Although possessing more cunning than ordinary beasts, wyverns lack the intelligence of their dragon cousins. Those who keep their composure when stalked by a wyvern in the skies can often outmaneuver or deceive it. Wyverns tend to follow a direct path to their prey, giving little thought to the possibility of ambush. Taming a wyvern for use as a mount is a challenging and perilous endeavor. The best results come from raising a wyvern as a hatchling. However, their violent temperament has claimed the lives of many aspiring masters who dared to try. The Xorn, peculiar beings originating from the elemental plane of Earth, possess a unique appetite for gemstones and precious metals. They navigate through the material world, particularly the Underdark, seeking these valuable resources. When minerals are scarce, they can become hostile towards miners and treasure hunters. Characterized by their heavy bodies, Xorn have a formidable mouth atop their heads. They possess 3 long arms, each ending in sharp talons, and 3 large, stone-lidded eyes with a wide field of vision. Xorn are elemental travelers, seamlessly gliding through stone and dirt, akin to fish in water. Their movement does not disrupt the earth. Instead, they merge with and flow through it, leaving no trace of their passage. Normally, Xorn prefer to remain in their native elemental plane of Earth, where they have an ample supply of gemstones and precious metals to sustain themselves. However, on occasion, they may find themselves on the material plane due to accidents or curiosity, at which point they seek sustenance and a means to return home. While Xorn typically ignore other creatures as they cannot consume organic matter, their innate ability to detect metals and stones often draws them to adventurers carrying coins and gems. Xorn are not inherently malicious. Instead, they attempt to persuade owners to part with their treasures, offering information in return. If ignored, they may resort to intimidation. In dire circumstances, when starving or provoked, they may resort to force. Yetis, imposing creatures that dwell in remote mountain regions, strike fear into the hearts of local miners and herders with their wind-borne howls. They are formidable hunters that prowl alpine peaks in search of sustenance. Their snow-white fur allows them to blend seamlessly into the frozen landscape, while their icy simian eyes possess a paralyzing quality that can immobilize prey. These creatures are keen hunters, possessing a keen sense of smell that can detect living flesh from miles away. When a Yeti locates its prey, it swiftly navigates the icy terrain to claim its meal, often accompanied by exhilarating howls of the hunt. Even in the midst of a blizzard, the scent of its quarry draws the Yeti through the cold and snow. Yetis are solitary hunters, or may occasionally be found in small family groups, If other Yetis catch wind of a battle or fleeing creatures, they may converge on the scene. Territorial conflicts often erupt among them over the spoils of such encounters, with fallen Yetis themselves becoming a source of food amid euphoric howling. Their howls are known to precede natural disasters like avalanches, blizzards, or deadly frosts, leading some mountain dwellers to believe that these eerie cries carry the voices of loved ones lost in such calamities. Others view the Yeti's howl as a reminder of humanity's vulnerability in the untamed wilderness. When mountain herds are abundant, Yetis tend to steer clear of humanoid settlements. However, driven by hunger, they may launch waves of brutal attacks on these settlements, breaching gates and walls to feast upon the inhabitants. Devious mountain inhabitants have been known to manipulate Yetis, using them as unwitting weapons in conflicts. Some warlords bait Yetis into enemy camps with slaughtered livestock, sowing chaos before battle, while others overhunt local game to force Yetis to target nearby humanoid communities that can then be annexed. The abominable Yeti, a larger and more savage variant, stands 3 times taller than a human. Typically solitary, they may pair up to raise their young. These towering Yetis are highly territorial, relentlessly attacking and devouring any warm-blooded creatures they encounter, leaving scattered bones in their wake across the icy wilderness. Yuan-Ti, a race of serpent folk, are devoid of compassion and harbor a sinister desire to dominate other races and elevate themselves to godhood. They originate from remote temples located in jungles, swamps, and deserts. In their earlier existence, Yuan-Ti were human, their culture rich, and their warriors renowned. They revered serpents as totem animals, emphasizing qualities like flexibility, poise, and deadly precision. Their philosophy encouraged emotional detachment and focused thinking. Their once thriving empires and cities stood as symbols of their greatness, with temples reaching toward the heavens in worship. Over time, their devotion to serpent gods grew fanatical, with cults emerging that indulged in cannibalism and humanoid sacrifice. Through dark sorcery and breeding with snakes, they sacrificed their humanity to become serpent-like in form, thought, and emotion. This transformation marked a pivotal moment for the Yuan-Ti, allowing them to shed their human nature. However, not all embraced this transformation, leading to conflict and eventual decline of their empires. The remaining Yuan-Ti now reside in the ruins of their once great capitals, far removed from other races. Yuan-Ti are notably cold-hearted, viewing emotions as exploitable weaknesses. They approach life with extreme pragmatism, making them resistant to manipulation. Their influence on other creatures often begins with promises of wealth and power, deceiving those who underestimate their cunning nature. Yuan-Ti leaders are ruthless tacticians, willing to sacrifice lesser Yuan-Ti for victory. They have no concept of honorable combat and prefer to strike first in ambushes. Yuan-Ti's existence revolves around their temples, but they do not genuinely worship their gods. Instead, they see worship as a means to acquire power, with the ultimate goal of devouring and replacing their own deities. Yuan-Ti abominations are monstrous serpent humanoid hybrids, the highest caste in Yuan-Ti society, and their appearance aligns most closely with the serpent god's intentions. They mastermind complex schemes and engage in dark rites with aspirations of world domination. Yuan-Ti Malisons represent a middle caste within Yuan-Ti society, possessing a grotesque blend of human and serpent features. They wield venom-tipped arrows and employ magical suggestion to force the surrender of their enemies. Yuan-Ti purebloods constitute the lowest caste, closely resembling humans but bearing subtle serpent-like traits. They often disguise themselves with cloaks and cowls to infiltrate civilized lands, gather information, abduct prisoners for interrogation and sacrifice, and engage in trade to further their sinister agendas. Yugoloths are fiends known for their capricious nature, dwelling in the plains of Acheron, Gehenna, Hades, and Carcery. They are mercenaries with shifting loyalties, driven primarily by their own interests and desires. Originating on Gehenna, the first Yugoloths were created by night hags, possibly commissioned by Asmodeus. The hags used 4 magic tomes known as the Books of Keeping to bind the Yugoloth's loyalty by recording their true names. This control over the fiends allowed the night hags to capture the true names of other fiends as well. However, the Sisterhood of Night Hags dissolved due to internal strife, leading to the loss or theft of the Books of Keeping. Freed from servitude, the Yugoloths became independent and now offer their services to the highest bidder. Yugoloths, when summoned, demand substantial rewards for their loyalty, but their promises are often broken when better opportunities arise. While they can be reasoned with, their word is rarely reliable. These fiends constantly quarrel among themselves, and without a strong leader, they engage in violence for their own benefit. When a Yugoloth is slain outside of Gehenna, it dissolves into ichor and reforms at full strength on its native plane, Gehenna. The 4 Books of Keeping, containing true names of Yugoloths, are highly sought after and can control summoned Yugoloths, albeit grudgingly. The General of Gehenna, a powerful and mysterious entity, remains elusive, with no mention in the Books of Keeping. Arcanoloths, with jackal-headed appearances, are highly intelligent spellcasters and diplomats, often assuming humanoid forms to negotiate and gain trust. They seek knowledge, power, and information in exchange for their services. Mesoloths, insect-like foot soldiers in Yugoloth armies, are driven by violence and rewards. They can release toxic fumes when surrounded by foes. Nikoloths, resembling muscular gargoyles, are elite airborne troops. They use their bat wings, sharp claws, and innate magic to strike swiftly in battle. They are known for their loyalty when treated well by their masters. Ultraloths, commanding Yugoloth armies, have slender, gray-skinned humanoid appearances with elongated heads. They possess mesmerizing eyes and often lead Yugoloth forces throughout the plains, acting as commanders or crime bosses. Lesser Yugoloths obey their summons without requiring payment. Zombies, animated corpses brought to life by sinister necromantic magic, are relentless in their pursuit of living beings. They appear as they did in life, bearing the wounds that led to their demise, but their bodies often deteriorate over time, manifesting the effects of decay and exposure. The process of creating a zombie involves animating the remains of the deceased, turning them into obedient servants. Typically, humanoids are the preferred source for creating zombies, although any formerly living creature can be reanimated. Necromantic spells or the presence of dark magic can bring a corpse back to life as a zombie, with some even rising spontaneously in areas saturated with dark magic. Once a creature becomes a zombie, only powerful magic, like a resurrection spell, can restore it to life. Zombies possess no vestiges of their former selves. Their minds are devoid of thought and individuality. Left without specific instructions, they stand still and deteriorate or attack any living creature that crosses their path. This malevolent magic imbues them with an innate evil, making them dangerous adversaries when uncontrolled. Zombies are relentless in their pursuit of their targets, taking the most direct route without regard for obstacles, tactics, or hazardous terrain. They are mindless soldiers, incapable of reasoning beyond moving toward their intended target and attacking any enemy they encounter. While they can follow simple orders and differentiate between friends and foes, their abilities are limited to basic actions like shambling in a given direction and attacking any foes in their path. Zombies equipped with weapons will use them, but they lack the ability to retrieve dropped weapons or perform more complex tasks. That's all for this video. Like and subscribe, and click on another video for more videos you would like.